probably was more me than anyone else.
No, it wasn't. It was us. Hello, it's Graham Coath here with Diane and Mal. We're back for the first of DCT's podcasts in 2025. How's that feel, folks?
2025. Yeah. Exciting.
Yeah, it's been 9 days of brilliance as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah. Are you ready for 2026 now then?
Yeah. I planned decade by decade.
Right, absolutely. Did you have a relaxing Christmas, both of you, or were you working over Christmas? Interesting to get kind of a entrepreneurial perspective of Christmas and what it looks like for different people. Did you get a break at all?
I sort of did, but then the need to look after the business rears its ugly head, and then you disappear up in the office, and then someone from the family suddenly realizes you're not there, and then they find me and I'm hauled back down again. So I would say 70 relaxed, 30% working.
Yeah. Diane?
Yeah, similar. So we still had some bookings to fill over the Christmas period. So yeah, I know. It was nice not having to come in the office every day, doing it from home and fitting it around things. So that is the good flexibility. But yeah, probably 70-30 the same, a little bit. Really. So not too bad.
I always find it interesting because I kind of work alongside LinkedIn in a way, kind of seeing the massive difference between one set of people and another. There were certainly this year people that literally had about 2 weeks off and just went underground. You could see sort of engagement and everything on LinkedIn just went vroom like that. There were a lot of people that just left it alone, disappeared off, had a jolly holly Christmas, and didn't come back until the 6th. But then there were other people that were in and out of work and LinkedIn all the way through the period as well. So it's and I don't know about either of you two, but I completely, because Christmas fell on the middle of the week as well, completely lost track of which day of the week it was.
Yeah, I needed Sky Sports to tell me what day it was, why whatever game was or wasn't happening. That's about how I got through it.
Yeah, it just didn't kind of make sense. We start these by trying to find out something about our guests. So, Mal, tell us a little bit about you. What is it you do, sir?
Well, I run, I'm going to say team building because that seems to be the 2-word phrase that most people understand. I don't like to call it team building, and I don't really know what I call it. I try to bring play into the workplace. So I'll go into clients and do a lot of it's based around puzzles, as you can see. So I'll run puzzles workshops with clients to show them how to approach problem solving from a point of view as, I know you've got problems in your business and every day is a problem, but let's take it into a more abstract world and just play around with puzzles where not solving failure is not a big issue. It's not a problem at all. I also take them outside. Probably the biggest part of my business is I have a digital treasure hunt app. So I build these city hunts around the world, and clients will go off and obviously they won't jet around the world. They'll go locally to themselves, but they have to run around, find things, find clues, solve puzzles, take photos. Again, it's all about play and fun, really, and trying to embed that into a workplace culture, which is difficult because people think play is proper play, as in ping pong tables and slides in the middle of the office and stuff like that. And they don't allocate enough, I would think, thought about the importance of play, really. So that's my challenge, is to try and bring a playful culture into workplaces. If you think about it, workplace sort of has the word play in it, albeit sick, spelt incorrectly. That's what I try to do anyway.
Yeah, I guess we lose a lot of the sense of play after we kind of finish being kids and finish school as well. I actually wonder, I'll bring Diane in this because she's probably got more experience of this because she goes into schools as well. But do you feel like there's probably even less play in schools these days than there once was?
yeah and no. I think there's a lot more people who may look to homeschool more than whatever they did, and I think some of that comes around. Probably one of them reasons is, you know, playing and learning and stuff, and learning life skills is just as valuable as it is learning your academic stuff. So yeah, I think the curriculum is a lot harder earlier on in schools. So I would say, yeah, you could probably say that does go away more, because that's how everything's a lot more structured and academic.
Yeah, I mean, it could be with rose tinted specs that I remember certain days at school, but I certainly remember when I mean, my youngest is 9 now, but if I was thinking about being that sort of age and at school, I'm pretty certain that in the lead up to Christmas, we weren't still doing sort of like maths and English and whatever else, and trigonometry or whatever. I'm pretty certain we started getting the board games out, and you know, we were watching
the films,
videos on VHS and whatever else. I'm pretty certain there was a lot more, if you like, sort of social based play type effort going on, as opposed to still having structured lessons. So I just wondered whether we're kind of we've lost that from a young age or not.
I think we have. Well, I'll speak from a prior career. I was 21 years an A-level teacher. So when you said the week before Christmas we were playing games and stuff, the hairs on the back of my head started. It's like, oh, because at A-level there's no time to cough, let alone do anything else. So we would, much to the disappointment of the students, we would run more or less. We finished at 12 o'clock on the final day, but at 5 to 12, you'd walk in my lesson. I was a computer science teacher, so I'm doing binary or hexadecimal or some other utterly pointless thing, because the curriculum was so tight that you didn't have any time. And I guess when my kids, they're at secondary school now, but in primary school, that was they come home like 3 weeks before Christmas having made all these cards, and I'm thinking, why are you not learning to read and write and do maths and stuff like that? And they're just going, but we've done this. And I'm going, well, that's not going to get you a job. And I'm probably a bit Scroogey like that, because I'm an ex-teacher. I sort of value education so much, and anyone watching this who's possibly a primary school teacher will probably want to now kill me, but it's just, I feel there was never any time. And so it was always an onslaught of go, 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 go. It's 12 o'clock, it's Christmas, bye-bye.
So yeah. How would you say then, you're going into the business, yeah, to promote that you need to find time to do that within a business? It's go, 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 go. Would you think, from your experience of being a teacher and doing what you do now, that you would have benefited from having even just half a day or an hour or whatever in them, you know, especially in the hard times where it's like very full on revision and stuff? Do you think it would have?
I think so. Strangely, the whole concept of the digital treasure hunt app came from when I was a teacher, because I was a computer science teacher. Not exclusively, but a lot of my students were male, because I was doing this in the mid-90s up until 5 or 6 years ago. And certainly back then, a girl in computer science would be wonderful, but very, very rare indeed. And also a lot of my students were on the spectrum. A lot had Asperger's and so forth. And so they didn't really interact very well. They'd grown up with films of hackers in their bedroom taking down the CIA and taking down the KGB and stuff like that as a sole role. And so when they came and I said, guys, you're going to have to work together on this. It's not about being by yourself. It's all about a team. It didn't really work very well. And so getting around to the point of where Puzzle Duck came from, I used to go across to Birkenhead Park, which was around the corner from where I taught, early morning with laminated clues. It was the mid-90s, by the way. Hide them around the park. And then I would take a class out and say, right, we're not doing computer science for the next hour. We're going to go on a treasure hunt. I used to give them digital cameras because we didn't have smartphones. And they'd go round and I'd supervise them, and they'd do it. And they were complaining because they wanted to be in a classroom, because the fixed mindset says I'm in this classroom at this time, and now we're in a park, and I don't know what's going on. But I stuck with it. And I found when they came back into the classroom, even though it might be the first lesson in September where they'd never met each other, they were having a cracking old time, and they'd built a relationship because they'd done something positively stupid. And that's what I'm trying to get, because they still functioned as human beings. And if you can just take a bit of time out to be ridiculous, then it will actually focus you more than if you just work all the time. But you guys may appreciate the fact that we all have to step back every now and then, but it doesn't mean step back and just do nothing. Just do something which is fun. You can relate it to the business if you want, but it's more important just to change your mindset slightly and just think about things in a slightly different way. That makes sense.
Yeah, 100%. My son's doing computer science in university, and he's got a
good lad.
Well, he's in South Korea doing it at the minute, so he's doing all right. But he's got Asperger's, and he will be completely the same. He'd be like, "Wow, I'm doing this." Absolutely.
Well, it's a major. It's something that we've found is that it's so important to have people with different ways of thinking, especially when it comes to problem solving in things like tech, right? Because quite often someone that is neurodiverse or just thinks in a different way or whatever can go from A to D and miss out B and C and save so much time and actually come up with a much better solution without the kind of friction and the rub in the middle of it as well. So
yeah, absolutely.
You know, that was my last background was in tech as well, and you know, helping to architect things that actually did the job rather than people thought that they would do the job and had to go through a certain process was definitely what all of that was about.
Mm-hmm.
So what is it about puzzles then that we all need?
We can all relate to them because we've done them, haven't we? We've always done them as kids. It doesn't matter how difficult or complex they are. We all know what a puzzle is. So it's one of those ubiquitous phrases. So straight away, people know what you're doing, and you know that there is a goal at the end, and you're maybe not sure how to get to that goal, but there is a goal. So straight away, the parameters of what you need to do are quite defined in terms of how do you even know how to do this? It doesn't actually matter. You don't need to know how to solve it at the beginning. You just need to know where you're going with it. You know, I've got to solve this in some way.
Well, that's the teamwork bit, presumably, is working out together how you solve it.
Well, it is because it's linked to play. And you said it before, Graham, which was really interesting, and it's what I tell most people. That I don't know what age you are, but at some point you wake up and within your play has disappeared, and then you're an adult and you're doing serious things, and you're concentrating on important stuff. And I guess we've always thought of play as the reward for when the work ends. So you can go out with your mates but finish your homework. You can have the ice cream but eat the cucumber, broccoli, whatever. I hate cucumber, but whatever it is on the plate, eat that first. And it's so, because we then viewed, and our parents are to blame, but not because their parents were to blame and they're not, and so forth. It's handed down generation to generation that play is a lovely thing to do at the end of something important. And so
it's a reward.
Yeah, it is a reward. And the point about the puzzles is, it's designed to try and make people realize I can incorporate this in the serious world of adulthood that I exist in, and I can still have a bit of a play. It's like a freedom pass to go on. You can just have half an hour in work, but messing around with this thing or doing some activity, and it's okay. It's not half an hour wasted. That's the point. It's half an hour of continued brain work, creativity, leadership. You were talking about the life skills before, Diane. Solving puzzles has all of that in: listening, negotiation, empathy, sympathy, blah, 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 blah.
Do you find that what you do is helping different generations come together as well? Because within that, with what you're saying, I think that's true. But I do think this generation that are coming through now have kind of turned that on its head. A lot of them are seeing players work.
Yeah, it's useful because it's sort of, take the digital treasure hunt, for example. I do it with schools as well. And the idea is to say to them, look, here's a mobile phone, which we all don't want to spend your life on, but you can use it in a more positive way. You don't have to doom scroll, but you are allowed to have it in front of you, run around, be active, learn things, solve things and stuff like that. And with clients where I work a lot with sort of like legal companies and accountancy services and stuff like that. And they do have quite a wide age range. And I always try, if they don't team them up, I always try to team the younger with the older people. And it's a very interesting dynamic because I don't know if there's any anecdotal, but I've had reports back and feedback from the older people that go, at the beginning, I was dreading this. And I just thought to myself, oh God, this is going to be awful. And then by the end, I got to know Charlie, Jane, whoever, much better. I can see where they're coming from. They helped me, orientate myself around the phone and know what I was doing. But also, I was able to bring in my wisdom and go, you know what, that's not how you can do this. Try solving it this way. And so it's a commonality of language that they sort of find, which is really nice to see. And they help each other pan-generational, I suppose.
Yeah. I wonder whether one of the ways that you would find success in marketing your business is to feed into the very more modern approach of business leadership and culture as well, which is to focus on the failure bit. Because, I mean, we know that Stephen Bartlett, for example, took on a head of failure. And the whole purpose of that role was to create chaos within the structure in order to get them to realize where it can go wrong.
Absolutely. I think it's if I do an indoor puzzle workshop, I will explicitly say at the beginning, you are not going to solve all of these in the time you have. And you can see people sort of going, well, why the heck are you telling us to do it then? And explain it. The process is important. The experience is important, but you're failing in a safe space. The business won't lose money. You won't lose your job. Everything's fine. But the skills and the resilience you learn when you're doing that, then apply into the real world of the workplace. And if the culture's right, then the business will say, hey, you know what? Try things out. Take a few risks and see what happens. As long as they're safe risks, have a go. And that gives people more self-confidence. It's all about speaking up and going, we've done this for 10 years like this. What about doing it this way? Like you said, forget B and C. I've gone from A to D and it still seems to be all fine. Nothing's gone wrong. So why do we need B and C? And there could be a fantastic reason why you need B and C, but there might not be. It's just a tradition that somehow happened.
So you find because they are failing, then some people then will see how maybe their managers act with regards to that failure to them. So people are scared to fail, aren't they? Like when managing anyone, they're scared to fail. Everyone always wants to impress, wants to. However, my biggest lessons I know in my life have come from failing. They don't come from succeeding. And I also know from experience of having staff where they've never failed at anything, as in personal life or work life or anything. When that failure then hits them, it hits them with a ton of bricks. Whereas people who have failed and picked themselves back up and move forward can handle it a little bit better. So do you see, do you get some real insight for the leadership team as well then of, how do you think they felt? So for instance, someone who doesn't react positively because the person's failed rather than encouraging them, then you see how, why they might not want to come to you in the work environment, or why they might not want to, although you're saying you want to empower them, they're scared to do that because they're scared of that reaction you've just done in that.
Yeah, and that's the tricky bit, because that's a massive cultural shift, I suppose. And I could ask all business owners and they'll go, yeah, of course, it's okay if you fail. But the reality of it is most people will be throttling someone and go, what the heck have you done here? This is a nightmare. So, which is why I say you probably will fail up at the beginning, or if they're doing the hunt, there are more locations than you can visit in the time. And it's trying to get the leaders to adopt that approach to stuff. There are times, yes, I get it, and when failure really isn't an option. But it's all about how the leaders react to that failure. And if people feel as if I've given 100%, we all, if you do your best, that's good enough. But that needs to be borne out in reality, because everyone will say that, but the reality of it is a lot of time it's like, well, you've done your best, but that's just not good enough for us. So you need to do better than your best, which is an unachievable aim, I suppose.
Yeah, I'm really interested about the narratives that are beginning to exist around failure, because someone led off, I think, on New Year's Day on LinkedIn saying that there is no such thing as failure, and I was like, I wasn't particularly in alignment with that, and I said, well, I don't know that that's necessarily true, because actually people do fail. They fail in life, they fail in work, they fail in jobs, they fail in marriages, they fail in whatever, and actually there's when people do fail, there's a lot of hurt, there's a lot of there's grief with failure, there's a lot of stuff to get over. You have to build resilience, and that's not a simple thing or whatever. So actually failing lots of times is possibly one of the only ways that you actually become more resilient. But I just wonder whether people are not necessarily all singing on the same hymn sheet about failure, and whether or not actually we just need to be more realistic. I mean, do you think we actually need more guidance when we do fail about what that feels like, how emotionally we need to deal with that, and how together as a team we pick ourselves up from there and move on to the next phase, which is I mean, I think the difficult thing here is we don't want to go too far the other way, as you say as well, where we go, well, it doesn't matter if you fail, because it does matter. It really matters when you fail. So failure isn't an option is quite often always the case.
Yeah.
But it happens. So what do you do when it happens?
I think one phrase I really hate is it's failure it's not failure, it's a learning opportunity, right? And I hate that because it dismisses the word failure. Everything is a learning opportunity. Right, me just logging into this system was a learning opportunity. So you have to call out failure for what it is, and I think as you allude to, the resilience and the emotional resilience of the people who are then involved in that failure are pressed up against centuries probably of Neanderthals building something which falls down, have failed, and may get clonked over the head with a club or something like that. It's going to be really difficult to just say we embrace failure and we'll move forward together, because a lot of people can't deal with that. And it's tricky.
Yeah, I think a lot of it stems from people's inner subconscious as well, from their own experiences. So
Cool.
Whenever I interview anyone, I will always ask them their strengths, and anyone can go, boom, 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 I'm great at this, I'm great at that, they can tell. And then when I ask them what's your opportunities, they look at me like, oh, why are you asking me that? I'm like, look, there's no right or wrong answer. Everybody has opportunities. We all have things we need to work on. And I'll give examples of my own. And I'm like, but I want to know if you got your own self-analysis to know what you need to work on to be better, because that's where whether somebody's a bit coachable or not as well. Because if somebody hasn't got any awareness of that, or is afraid to tell you because they think it's a negative response, then already that barrier's there straight away. Does that make sense? But if someone's like, oh yeah, I know I'm great at sales, for instance, but my admin's rubbish, or I'm great, whatever. Does that make sense? And your strengths can be opportunities at the same time as well. At times, you know, they can be good in one aspect, but they can be harmful in others, you know. So I'll always say, for me, you know, I'm very honest and transparent. That can be great in situations, but it's also caught me out in situations. So it's how you use it, isn't it? And stuff like that. So I think a lot of it delves a bit deeper. Going back to when you're in the situations, Mal, and people are showcasing the leadership and maybe they need help in that, do you have follow-on courses? Do you have extra stuff?
So
puzzles?
I work, more puzzles. I just give people puzzles. There's like, just keep giving them puzzles. We can do follow-up. So I work quite closely with my wife, who's a clinical psychologist. So she's the real brains behind the empirical evidence and all of that. And I'll be very honest here. Sadly, what a lot of businesses want to do is the treasure hunt, the puzzle workshop. Thanks. Cheers. It was really good. Really, really great. Really enjoyed ourselves. Bye-bye. And end it there. And that's the ongoing problem I have, because they just think you can bring this in, do it for the day or the half day. It's like your training day, isn't it? Your annual training day. You do it, and then it's back to work again, and nothing really, really changes unless there's a consistent approach.
Yeah.
So it's so difficult. And I guess one of the issues is because, particularly on the hunts, they have so much fun. And it's great that they turn it into a more social activity. That's what I want. I want it to be a social activity away from the workplace, learning things about their environment that they possibly walk past every day and they don't notice these things. But it becomes so much fun that they themselves convince themselves, oh God, this isn't like work. It literally is playing. Okay, we're back to work tomorrow. And you're sort of like, it's a Homer Simpson dough moment when you go, you've got a great opportunity now. People are primed to see how much they can enjoy play and enjoy fun. And they've had these joyous experiences. Let's build on this and let's go forward. And I guess 2025 is one of my big things for this year, is to try and say the door stays open. Let's move forward through the door and do a bit more together rather than do it as an isolated
Would you not a package deal then? So like bronze is you just go and do the hunt, and then silver would be you do the hunt. That's a business meeting to it, and then you come back.
I think where you might find some success with this, Mal, is by aligning yourself with people that are at the end or starting from the end process.
Yeah.
So I think it would be wise of you to build relationships in 2025 with culture change specialists, people that are going into businesses to do the whole culture change piece, because they could then bring you in and take you on that part of the journey, right?
Yes.
With the view that they want to take it further than just the day experience. It's not just about the day experience. So if they're trying to build unity and teamwork and things like equality, diversity, inclusion, equity, and whatever within that business culture, they will be doing a whole load of work heading towards that. And if you could become part of that, then you can become part of their empirical study on that business that enables that business to move forward to, and you probably find that your size of client will go up as well, because typically those kind of people were working with big corporations.
I'm so glad you've said that, Graham, because that's what I did last Monday. so I joined with a couple of guys who were culture change specialists, communication specialists, conflict management type people, and they had a client, and I was sort of 1/4 of that day, if you like. And so we all rotated groups, and I did my bit, they did their bit, and stuff like that. And it worked really well, because of course I know what I'm talking about with puzzles and how problem solving can assist the brain and your work skills and stuff. And they knew about their stuff a lot. And it was really nice because they were all very positive about it. And at the end of the day, I must admit, I got a much better feel for what I think I put into it than I normally do. And I think you're right. I don't know how, were you spying on us at the hotel? I'm not entirely sure what you were doing there, but I
just know about this stuff.
You just know about this stuff. But it felt as if more had been accomplished. And obviously there was 4 of us, but I felt more had been accomplished in my quarter than would normally have been done. And I think you're right. It's those sorts of joint ventures are probably the way in.
Because it's a journey though, isn't it? So we used to do stuff like that at McDonald's all the time. So you go from one place to the next and it all comes together, doesn't it? So you haven't had to put some of the foundations down. Everyone else has done some of that for you. So you could really home in on your niche part then to be like, right, this is what it is. And that's probably why it was so exciting. And you get a buzz off everyone else in the room, is, you know, together. That's what I was going to go on to about with the bronze, silver, gold packages. If you have partnerships,
no, I think
you've got more options, haven't you?
I think the problem is when you stick a teacher and make them make their own business up. For 20 odd years, my customers were sat in front. I didn't have to recruit anyone. Other people did that. I walked in, did my thing, went away, and everyone was happy. And all of a sudden, I've got to go out and get people. I'm quite happy to talk to thousands and thousands of people because I think I'm quite a good communicator. But learning business on the fly is a tricky thing, shall we say. It's one of the hardest things I've ever done, I think.
Yeah. It is for everybody.
Not just me. Great. Okay. But it's I have quite a creative mind. And the problem with that is it's like, right, I've got to do some proper strategies here because, oh, hang on, what's that? Oh, that's like an interesting puzzle. Oh, I've got a great way of making that into a better puzzle. Do that. And then that just disappears because puzzles are far more interesting than planning as far as I'm concerned. And that's where I'm having to be quite careful that I keep focused on those sorts of things, which are the day-to-day for people who run their own businesses. Well, that's the thing they're very good at. I need to get better.
Well, if you think about what Diane does, for example, I mean, you know, when a business starts, and you know, if you're a construction company, and you've got and you're building houses, and then you know your son comes into the business, and the two of you are doing sort of like, you know, repair work on houses or whatever else, and then you get to a point where you win a project. And you start to, you know, this is your opportunity. And now you need like 6 laborers on site and whatever. And then before you know it, you're spending a lot more of your time like tendering for bigger projects, you know, trying to recruit the people that you need to put into that position. It gets to the point where actually you shouldn't be doing that because you're going to spend an awful lot of your time trying to find the right people and do it. And that's where, you know, handing over that part of your business to someone else that's a trusted pair of hands and understands where you want to go with your business works.
Yeah.
And I think that's kind of the growth problem that everybody that's a sort of solopreneur has with their business, which is at what point do I actually stop trying to do the next bit as well and just go, actually someone else is already doing that, I might just partner up with them.
Yeah, we can definitely have a chat, have a one-to-one, Mal, and like help with other things like that. I know there's probably a lot of people who I can put you into contacts as well who do very similar to what you've just done in the hospital, in the hotel, sorry, and put everything together, and even looking at how you expand your team and what you do, you know, or you could bring someone in who does the strategy side that you don't like, and you stay being good at what you like, you know, you don't have to then go and reskill to learn that. No. Just bring someone in who does all that for you, and you carry on doing the fun bit that you like and delivering the content.
Puzzles,
just put that's all I want. Oh, that's all I need. That's all I need. You can recruit me puzzle creators. I'm sure that's a massive market in recruitment, puzzle solvers and creators and stuff like that. Yeah, no, I get it. It's again, I suppose it's just that I've seen this grow and it's mine, and I don't trust anybody with it. It's ridiculous. I know. At some point, I've got no money and I'm on the streets, I'll suddenly realise if only I'd given up control to people who know more than me.
To put probably some of the things that you probably educate your clients on, you probably then need to practice what you preach, shall we say? Because
I can't afford me though. That's the problem.
And it's like, I've been a trainer myself, like, and it's great to stand in front and go, right, this is what you should do, this is this. And even like me, I've run a business since I was 23, but even now I'm like, oh, I know I should have done that. I know I should this. And it's so easy to get lured into it, isn't it? Because it becomes your baby and you want to protect it. I have them conversations all the time with people, and it's easy to say it, but putting it into practice is
absolutely
difficult part, isn't it?
It's the hardest puzzle of all.
It is, yeah.
Oh, we've got very deep and philosophical.
But it is that completing your own business jigsaw puzzle is probably the most difficult thing you'll ever do.
And it's interesting you said that, because I use that as an analogy. I do say to people, clients, who does a jigsaw every day? And no one puts the hand. Well, if you put your hand up, it's a bit strange, but no one tends to put the hand up. And then you point out every day you're solving puzzles. You have the picture of where you want the business to go on the front of the box. You've got it in your head, but you still got to make everything work and fit together. And it's quite a good analogy to then people.
I feel like recruitment's like that. You've got a problem, like as in the client needs a candidate, the candidate needs a job, and it's like a puzzle putting it together, because we say that we're problem solvers, stuff like that. It's finding the right candidate to fit that role that matches the culture of that company. It's not just finding, a commercial director who's got all the skill sets. It's got to be the right person that fits into that business well. So I say that with our role as well.
I can see that. Otherwise, you've got two jigsaw pieces that both have a sticky out bit, and you're trying to do that. You get nowhere, and that's what you're saying with your recruitment, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's one of the real skill sets that you need to develop as a business owner as well, is taking yourself out of your business and looking at your business from the perspective of not being in the business. And that's really, really, really hard, but you need to try and do it. And for me, I think probably the best way of doing that is to work with other people. Either it be a mentor or it can even be clients. One of the best ways of doing it is to do that with clients. Actually say to clients, how am I going to grow me as a business so I can support you more?
Yeah.
Have you thought about how I could grow so I could actually do this to help you?
Yeah, I've recently joined like an accelerator business growth program. It's been very useful because we've done exactly that. We've looked at other people's businesses and not our own, and people have done that to me. It's certainly, and it's quite interesting what you misunderstand about your own business, but people removed can suddenly go, why are you doing that? Or why don't you do this? It's the wood for the trees issue, isn't it? I suppose. And it's really, really useful, and loads of interesting ideas were generated. A lot of them didn't make sense in the end, but there's a few gems in there that I'm taking forward, because you can't, if people are giving you that advice, and some of these people, certainly the mentors, were like people who've worked globally for Apple and Google and Saatchi guys and all these wonderful people. And at some point you're going to go, do you know what? I think I know my business, but they probably know a lot more. And they're trusted. Let's just go with it. And some of these things might fail, but you're going back to what we said at the very beginning. I'm very much the first. Let's just do it and see what happens. I'll never put the business at risk. I'll just try little things out and see what goes.
Do you know what though? I think actually the more you allow what you do to to work for your business.
Yeah.
So the more you sort of like, use what you do with other businesses on your own business, and then actually template that, and then say to other businesses, I've got first-hand experience of how I've grown this business by using puzzles to understand where I should be going with my business. Right? The more work you'll get, because people go, it works. That he's grown his business using these puzzles. So it's a great analogy as much as anything else. It's a great story.
Absolutely.
Did you ever see, Mal, like where people have maybe really tried to be creative and put things in just because they want to be unique and have a USP, and that actually hinders the business, and actually going back to basics is the answer, because they've been the other way, probably done too much.
So no, I know exactly what you mean, Diane. I think quite a few times I've seen clients really overthink it. And if you take a puzzle as an example, it's like, hang on a minute, there's something about this. He's embedded something. There's a code. Let's put it to the light. Let's work out if there's something. No, just go with your gut. Go with your gut is often the best way. Yes, there are puzzles like that, and I do choose challenges like that. But things like that, or in a digital treasure hunt, it's pretty straightforward. It's more about the experience of it. So don't overthink it. And when you do overthink it, quite often then leads to frustration. And then you get the issue Graham was talking about earlier, when with failure, people get really angry with it and upset about it. And you get team players then going, oh my God, why can't you just do? And it gets all a bit fraught. And so I try to just say to them, just approach it, open mind, have a go. There's no trickery involved. There's no magic. It's a puzzle on a piece of paper, or it's something to find in the middle of a city centre or whatever. And if you go with it with that attitude, which I think if you have that attitude in business, it can serve you really, really well. Forget the suspicions of, oh God, what's going. Just go with it with an open mind. If you're wrong, you'll soon find out, and you can change tack. But at least you go, and you're not as anxious as well. There's a lot of anxiety. Go with that sort of growth mindset, not that fixed mindset of just like, it's a binary thing. It's an analog thing. There's loads of different ways to do it. So if you have the growth mindset, then it does become easier to deal with the trials and tribulations of the puzzles or work or life, whatever whatever you're involved in.
Yeah.
Diane, I'd love to finish on this today as well. Do you find one of the biggest weaknesses out there, if you have weaknesses from candidates, is when people say things like, well, it isn't working, and that's it. They don't want to learn how to make it work, but they just have stopped at a point where something isn't working, or there's no way past where they are at the moment.
Yeah, I think some of that stuff goes a bit more deeper rooted of what's people's onboarding process being like, what's the training being like, what time have they given somebody, have they actually sat down and fully shown the job? Because in our world sometimes, like, especially in temporary, they expect everyone to just know everything when they're coming into the role. And that could be like in a warehouse, just a picker and packer. And you'd have some clients like within an hour, like, no, they're not right. And it's like, you haven't even given them a minute to breathe. Like, not everyone's got the confidence or the whatever, or like some people are a bit more like to, work out their environment, and they're a bit more of a stand back and observe person. But then we've got other clients who'd be like, they'll have trained them with a buddy for a full week. Then, the next week they'll be on their own a bit, but the buddy's still there. So by week 4, 5, 6, if they say, look, now you're like, totally, listen, you've done everything. But yeah, you do have some of that flip side. But I think that goes a bit deeper rooted to the culture. So everything what Mal would have to go in and fix.
Ironically, the people who are probably saying that to you, did they go in and just pick the job up straight away? Were they like the perfect employee? I mean, of course they weren't.
Well, I always talk about my own story. I worked for McDonald's for 22 years. I didn't even know recruitment existed. I paid for my CV to be done, and I now own a recruitment company because it wasn't hard to learn. It wasn't hard to do. I picked it up very easily. Both businesses are very people orientated, so things can do. And I think because of my past experience, some stuff that we do is why we're different from other people, you know. So, you know, we'll do, you know, inductions and things like that, and take people to the environment before they're even going on day one. You know, even the construction world, we'll get people to go and have an interview and stuff before they even start. And like, you'll have the labourers going, "Oh, I've got to go for an interview," and it's like, well, yeah, because if the client, then you're better doing that than sending someone on day one. By day two, they ring you and go, no, they're not quite right for us, for instance. Because going back to what you're saying there, Graham, where it's not working out, well, that's soul destroying for the candidate as well, isn't it? So you are having a bit of self-protection on both sides of the coin. And by having the client have a say in who they want to choose, even if it's just temporary or permanent, you've got more of a buy-in from all three parties. And that's what our ethos is why it's delivering careers together, is us, the candidate, the client, we're all working together like a three-legged stool. So without one of the legs there, it's not going to work. So working in a triangle that we're all as equal as each other and putting it together hopefully prevents any problems in the future.
Yeah.
You know, it puts it together even better, you know, by spending that little bit more time at the beginning.
I think it's one of the main problems that we may see at the moment with tight budgets and things like that, is that people will cut things in the wrong areas. I think, you know, if anything, most businesses don't just need tick box exercises that tell them where the problem is. They need the education that then solves the problem. And if they go back to just identifying the problem, but then not paying for the education to solve the problem, that isn't actually going to help anything, you know. And it's a big differential that you see quite often between smaller businesses and larger corporations, etc., which is that, you know, I've worked in a Wetherspoons myself. I mean, if you learn to cook in a McDonald's or Wetherspoons or whatever, you won't just learn, like, you know, to cook a burger. You'll learn how to cook a burger, and you'll learn how long for, and you'll learn why you cook it for that long, and what you're testing for to make sure that nobody's going to get food poisoning and everything else.
Yeah.
Whereas, you know, within a smaller kitchen or whatever, it might be, well, there's what you cook it on, there's the burgers, right? And in the one, you'll have a complete breakdown and a booklet and everything else of these are the steps that you take for absolutely everything. And the other one, it's just like, you know, get on with it. And maybe somewhere in between's a really good, you know, where someone can use their own brain to work out whether there's a better way sometimes. And they don't always have to follow process, but actually knowing what the process is, so that they avoid any problems, you know. So yeah, I think we'll see.
When you're small, and I'm guilty of this myself sometimes, is you think, oh, we don't need them processes right now because it's just us. It's just what you do, because before you know it, you then lose them habits, and then you're building that small business to a bigger business, and then it's, oh, right, we need to reassess all this. And so you have to try and do everything like that from the beginning. So it's a bit of a military operation, so to speak, you know, so it all works together, rather than, oh, we'll do that when we've got 10, 20, 30 staff, whatever it is. Does that make sense?
I've just had to start doing that, because I've just made an affiliation with a lady who runs her own business over in Paris, who does walking tours of Paris.
Oh yeah.
And we met through a mutual acquaintance, and she said to me, right, I can visit all these wonderful locations. I can give you all the history. How do you actually go about designing when you get to a location, the observation clue, the theory clue, the puzzle clue? How do you go about it? I was like, well, hang on a minute, let me write this. Have you written it down? I was like, no, it's just in there. And so I'm really having to quickly, hope she doesn't watch, which I hope she does listen to this, but also doesn't, because she'll realise I'm having to quickly put together my own manual of operations. because I've never had to do it. I've never had to do it before because it's all here. But it's a
Yeah.
great process because it's
Yeah.
also making me look back. What Graham said before, I'm actually looking at my own business and I've realised all of a sudden two of the things I do, I've no idea why. I don't know where they've come from, but I don't need them at all. So I'm just not gonna do them when I build the next hunt. I'm not gonna do that. So I'm just going through the whole process now.
I was going to ask you, how many cities do you do the hunts in, Mal?
It's about, well, I have an online shop. So if you're going to Nottingham or Manchester, you can buy a hunt. There's about 25 cities on that. But for clients, I have probably got about 100 around the world. But at the moment, I'm not selling them in the shops. Clients have come to me. A couple of clients came from the Netherlands and said, right, we've got one in Amsterdam, one in Utrecht. We need people to work together in these. So I've just gone and built them as one-offs. But when the time arises, I can just strip out all their branding, put in my branding, and then just sell it. Because the great thing about the hunts is they're all scalable and repeatable. So I build it for one, and then I can just use it again and again and again with a few tweaks.
So if we went to the city and we wanted to do one of your tours, where will we find it? Where will we buy that from?
So it's, if you go to shop.puzzleduck.co.uk, you'll find all the UK based ones there. And towards the end of this year, the ones in the Netherlands and in Germany and in the States and Spain, they're gradually coming on. It's just a long process for little old me to do. But of course, when you recruit me some puzzle creators, Diane, we'll be all right. We'll be fine.
I've got one last question to kind of finish on. So could individuals do your puzzles, or is it literally a corporate thing?
No. So the individuals, the people who go to that shop, the online shop, and just go and purchase it. So if you go into a city for the weekend with the family or friends, you can just go to the online shop and purchase it. It gets delivered to your phone. You enter a code, and you're away.
Looking for that now. He's going for the family.
I was right. So I had these produced. Towards the end of 2024. There we are. Look at that, lovely. Which the nice little acrylic badges. That actually takes you to my music podcast. So could you just as an idea for Gwen, but could you actually like leave your QR code on something or other in shops in towns where you've got the puzzle, so that people could go in and then scan it and then pay and then do the puzzle?
I guess I could. And I say guess I could. What I mean is that's exactly what I'll be doing as soon as this finishes.
See, that's genius.
Yeah.
Yes, that can easily be done. You just scan it. That's it. Yeah.
I'm gonna ask, like, so whenever I go away or anything, I go on like Fireeater or something like that. Are you signed up with any people like that? So if I was going abroad, I always go on there and I put like things to do and wherever I'm going. Like, are you with any people like that?
I'm just in the process of starting that, because what I have found is the bigger event companies are fine, and the hoops you have to jump through as a little one to actually get the credibility to be on there. The people who suddenly say to me, we'll put you on for a fee of, I then avoid, because they don't know who I am, they don't know how good it is. They'll just say, we'll put you on, and it's like 150 quid a month. Well, I stay clear of those. I want the other ones, but it takes time to build that relationship, just because there are huge event companies out there. And there are companies that do similar to what I do. Obviously not as good, in my opinion, but it's about getting my name established as, do you know what? It's fun, it's quality, it's reliable, it's professional, and all those wonderful things that it should be if you're spending that sort of money.
Yeah,
this is cool. This is cool. Mal, it's been a pleasure meeting you, sir. Thank you so much for this conversation.
Graham, thank you for the time, and Diane, thank you very much for your time.
What we'll do is we'll put a QR code to Mal's shop on the stuff that goes out with this podcast. You will have seen it already, because you're now listening to it. But please do go and visit. And if you're in one of the situations or places in the world where he's got a treasure hunt, etc., then do go and try it, and give feedback as well. Let us know how you get on.
Cool.
we look forward to more puzzles from you in the future as well, and we look forward to seeing the progression of your business as it grows. Mal,
I appreciate that. Thank you very much indeed, both of you.
It's a pleasure. Thank you for listening. This has been DCT with another podcast for you, beginning off 2025. We'll be back soon with yet another one of these. Until then, thanks for watching. Bye for now.